Some upgrades change massively the way you play, some provide little improvements. Others are there to allow you to continue your journey into sim racing. After reviewing equipment worth thousands, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know where to spend more and where to save. Before going there are a few things to keep in mind. The first one is, if you enjoy these types of videos, press like and subscribe as your help is appreciated. I'm trying to get 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. The second one is asking something I've asked you in FOMO videos before. Is buying equipment solving a problem? Because remember, if you can't clearly articulate what your current hardware is preventing you from doing, upgrading isn't likely to give you what you think it will. Or are you buying for buying's sakes and keeping up with the Joneses? It's not a dig at you, I just want to keep you grounded. That's what I try to do over here. The last one is likely the most important. Take a step back and ask yourself about budget and your objectives. As sim racing can become very expensive, very fast, it's good to figure out how your race space is going to look like, as it's going to be to determine your upgrade order and where to focus more of the funds. Some of the equipment that I'll be mentioning here are just examples, as there are many other options of the same type with many other brands. Our choices will also depend on your platform. A PC build will have naturally more choice than a console one. But regardless, there are a few links in the description if you want to help the channel out. Let's start our journey. The first upgrade to address will determine quite physically the way you play, what your equipment will look like, which is the area where your equipment will be at. A desk will limit the scale and scope of the equipment you can choose. It will as well put a real cap on what peripherals can be used, as throwing money into expensive pedals or wheelbases just to be used on a desk or a wheel stand that physically may very well break down while using them or not allow you to explore all the limits of the equipment. This, in my opinion, is not a good use of money. For example, let's be practical here. Using a brake stack on a load cell that wants to have some decent force behind it just to be thrown back when pushing it is a waste of money. While there may be ways to go around it, like using less force or find a way to fix the chair, it's still not an optimal use of funds, in my opinion. Generally, for first upgrade, it's either chassis or pedal set. Taking the risk of sounding like a parody of corporate culture Instagram reels, let's look at it from a long-term perspective. Therefore, chassis first, as it will determine everything. It will determine your wheelbase, your pedal compatibility, seats, accessories, and even screens. There are a bunch of chassis choices out there, but there's a small rule of thumb. Your choices should be primarily, hopefully, aluminum extrusions with 2 rails minimum. Something like a TR80 or a GT Omega Prime Lite. These should last years and will have the capacity to extend the use case of the rig other than just getting, the regular wheels and pedals. You can install butt kickers, seat tensioners, movement, stream accessories, keyboard trays, water cup trays, monitor stands, you name it. After a certain point, spending more money in a chassis like going to 160 width is giving 0 back to you. Always look at what's included. Check the way the extrusions are attached, the quality of the pedal deck, and these are the important details that make the difference. Aluminum extrusions are the most versatile, absolutely, but they are far from the only choice. There are rigs made out of tubes, bars, or even plywood like the excellent RSR21, but these need to be checked out on a case-by-case analysis. So check multiple reviews to figure out what's going on, as some tube chassis are very limited in design and also in stability. A good chassis will have the capacity to grow with you and adapt to your playstyle. It can adapt to VR use or triple screens. It can be made into something very low drag or even emulate a race car interior. You are really only limited by your imagination. The second choice, or your first choice if you are a desktop wheel stand racer, will be the pedal set. Pedals are hard to give blanket recommendations because these pedals come in all shapes and sizes for pretty much all price points. Some prioritize refinement, others prioritize bang for the buck. What all of them need to have is a brake that has minimum a load cell, one that is configurable in software and physically via change of dampeners and springs and maybe even positioning. Most pedal sets have good quality nowadays, so they separate themselves in overall quality or build options, and sometimes even feel. A very basic pedal, for example, like the CSL load cell from Fanatec or the Mazda SRP, they may very well work for a lot of people, but they miss in small things like adjustability. As you move up the ladder and spend just a little more, you'll find options like pedal face angle changes, more choices of elastomers. The build quality will definitely improve to the point it can last you many years. You have different mounting options, rigidity, and sometimes even haptics. The more expensive pedals may even be hydraulic, pneumatic, or even active, though the judge is still out there if they bring actual performance. Anyways, as it is with everything, budget will determine features and to some degree, quality. As pedals are really the place you win or lose more pace, you should really prioritize pedals that will have a good reputation for reliability and will allow you to change the pedal feel to your own liking. If the pedals do not have ergonomic adjustability, make sure that your rig will allow for tilt and lift of the pedal tray, otherwise you can have big problems with your ankles. Also worth mentioning is that load cells with high numbers don't really mean much by themselves. Brake pedal leverage will change the amount of force being read anyways, and most people will never push really more than 50 kilo. A rule of thumb would be a load cell from 60 kilos would serve most, and 100 kilos would serve pretty much everyone, bar a few edge cases used for training or racing styles. Regardless, most pedals will comply. Then there are wild cards like the Simpson pedals that brings a lot of features, great feeling at an excellent price. Though, I must say, quality control suffers somewhat. Myself, I prefer the high-end Sim Talento pedals that I've been using for the last 3 years now. Would you like to see a long-term review of this pedal set? Wheelbase will be your third priority. This is the piece of kit with most visibility out there. Every new one that comes out seems to be imbued, I am told, with the ability to save the world via the power of friendship, Databayo. It's fun stuff to be said, but let's cut to the essentials. Nowadays, unless there's some sort of very edge case, direct drive is the way to go. There's no points being made against it. They've become cheaper, plentiful, and are available at every price point and power. In most cases, price point will determine the power. As for the power sweet spot, that should be around 12 Nm, but this doesn't mean that is the final target or you can't use less or you shouldn't use more. At that power, you should get 99% of the experience, if not more, of wheelbases of twice the power, at the fraction of the cost, while being able to play everything really that you want and drive everything that you want. In reality, nowadays, most wheelbase systems are already really good. There's force feedback flavor within the wheelbase systems, but the difference really will be the quick release if they have pass-through USB, the ecosystem, the price when compared to the competition, or even the long-term ownership experience. Other than that, even if the comments talking about specific brands being way better because reasons, those comments are generally good to ignore. With these things in mind, your choices are really varied. The lower end spectrum, say the 3 to 5 Nm, would be prime for desktop users, and often they come with bundles too. A lot of the direct drives with that price come with desk mounts or the option to buy one. But from that point in power onwards, wheel stand at the very minimum, chassis always recommendable. The power of the wheelbase will also influence what type of wheel choices you can have. The weight of the wheel will change the force feedback characteristics. The heavier it is, the more negative the impact on force feedback. So choose based on long-term plans. Then we have the accessories, which will be really the last place to spend money. This is the place where customization and the personality of the rig will appear. Even in the accessories there are priorities, as no accessory is the same. First, maybe the wheels we'll talk about. They will have different wheel size, wheel shape, wheel use, Formula, GT, roads, and even drifting. There's so many of them for every single use you can think of. Then you also have shifters and handbrakes to increase your immersion to the rig or make certain driving styles like rally or drifting possible. One accessory I can really recommend is to have some sort of button box to control aspects of your sim rig, something like a stream deck. I've been using one in a rig for the last, I think, 7 years now, and this box allows me to control all of the stream change car systems, launch programs, and now if you have a Fanatec wheelbase, you can even change the force feedback profiles on the go. That means if you want to use third-party wheels with Fanatec, I have a video in the description on how to do that. You never really lose access to on-the-fly changes. As accessories are so widely deep in choice, I can't really mention all of it, but I will mention haptics. Haptics can be as small as rumble motors on the pedal or a little bigger like butt kickers, but it can also go to much bigger things too. In between the movement rigs and the small motors, there's something that I used in the rig, which is a cubic belt tensioner that, without complication, will give out a lot of the usable information about what the car is doing. This is really just barely touching on accessories, but there's one last point I can mention that is really not equipment, that will be training tools. Racing is not just equipment, but also learning to drive. There are many tools out there to choose from, but here's a plug to channel sponsor Coach Dave Academy that will be compatible with all major sims. With the driving tools, you also get information about your drive, telling you where and how to be fast, and Coach Dave Academy even provides, with the tools, really good setups that I use, for example, in Luma Ultimate. While these tools aren't really needed, they are good to have as they expedite improvements with your driving. Hopefully, this small guide will give you the right direction with your upgrade order, but leave in the comments your opinions. Don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe. Thank you so much.